So the question is, you're in Mooney Street, right?
Yep.
You've moved into Mooney Street, and you've told me the details of what
So
you
if
did.
he was 11, it would have been 47.
That's
1940,
football ground,
1947.
Australia.
So what's your recollection of family life until you're about 18? See, until you're about 18, which is 54. What's your recollection of living at Mooney Street? There's 11 of you, and Mum and
It's
Dad.
a well-controlled little joint. Everyone was happy. In those days, if the weather was fine, we played cricket or football out in the street. In fact, the bloke opposite was Mr. Stewart, and he was a league goal umpire. He used to come out and kick with us. That was one of the best things.
But with 11 kids, right? How many bedrooms were in it?
We had the big room. There's three of us lived in the big room.
So who's the three?
Me, Leo, and who's that?
Bernie.
Yeah, Bernie. Yeah.
I can draw you a map of Mooney Street.
And then we had, when Dad was an old cocky, and so
You know what a cocky is, don't you?
in the front room of the house, looking at the house on the right hand side, well, when we bought it, Dad, he must have been travelling all right. He fitted that bedroom out with the top of the range wardrobes and bed and all that, and no one was allowed to use that. That was only for people that came from the bush. Yeah, that was the way it worked in those days.
So-
It used to have two beds in it. Was for used to have two beds in it. Was for Auntie Mary and Auntie Peg. They used to stay in there.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was a double bed or two. I think it was two singles. I don't know. Yeah, two wardrobes.
And so in those days, like, would you all go to mass, to church, all of you?
Yeah.
You'd all go.
Row 13. Row 13 in St Brendan's held 13 of us.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, so you'd go there on a Sunday
Yeah.
at, I don't know, is it 11 o'clock or
No, it'd be at 8 o'clock mass.
8 o'clock in the morning?
Yep.
Right, everyone's up early, going to mass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anyone ever try not to go to mass? Did any?
No one ever tried.
No one ever tried.
They used to say the rosary every night, for God's sake.
Well, who used to say the rosary every
The
night?
whole family. Used
The
to-
whole family?
After tea. Except,
Every night?
Except Nana.
Every
She used to
night
read
we said the rosary.
Every night?
Nana used to sit down. She'd have the shoebox in front of
Poor
her.
old.
And she'd read the paper. And every now and then someone would knock her and she'd go, preface. Because Pop would be at the
poor
other
old
end of the
Maxie.
table.
Right.
Poor old Maxie. Maxie is a Catholic, comes from Austria. And yeah, and he was courting Margaret. And anyhow, he used to come in and sneak round the side way because he knew that we said the rosary after tea. Well, that wasn't very good because Michael, he was a little bastard. He'd look out the window and say, Maxie's here. Maxie had to come in. He couldn't avoid it.
You'd dob him in.
Yeah. That was good fun, those things. Yeah.
So how did your mum prepare meals for like 11 people?
She had
13
a
people.
huge, well, it wasn't a huge kitchen. She had a kitchen, and the best part about her kitchen is she had a walk-in pantry. And I mean, not just a little pissy, what they call a walk-in pantry. She had
Well, when I was
a
growing up,
walk-in
I had a
pantry.
helper.
Like you would.
Is it like a bedroom?
I was just like,
3 by 3.
I'm just up to drawing it actually, drawing the kitchen. So you'd have the kitchen, so it'd be like this. Stove was there, had an old chimney. And that's what Bernie used to come down as Father Christmas. and the table would be on this wall, and the table would fit. Put it this way, it fitted all the girls and went on a Thursday for lunch when they did Thursdays. Over on this room, this side of the room, there was a bench, and then you had your sink. Then in that corner there was just a door, and you would walk, and that was just pantry. It was just like a whole room. It was only on one side, but there's plenty of space, like you could walk down quite easily, and it was just pantry. Just walking pantry. Beautiful. To have a kitchen with
But no one had breakfast. We didn't all have breakfast together.
You didn't?
No,
No.
because they all go at different times to school, you know. So we had breakfast, which was mainly, and that used to create, because I used to outsmart them all, we used to have porridge and that. And I'd been a good thing helping Mum. I'd sneak out and there's always a dozen bottles of milk we used to have to pick up. The milkman delivered it. But there's that, I don't know if you remember the old milk bottles.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the cream was sitting on top of the milk in those days. So I'd get out, I'd be up early every morning with that. I'd get out there, get the milk bring in for Mum, and have the porridge, and I'd take the top cream off about 3 bottles. Oh, they used to scream.
Did they?
He's got all the cream! Well, he got up.
And they only had one indoor toilet.
One indoor toilet?
One indoor
Wow.
toilet. And
Do you have any recollection of that?
They
One
had an
indoor toilet?
outhouse. They had an
Oh.
outhouse.
Oh, they had an outhouse. So there's 2 toilets, you mean?
No, well, I can't even remember. And
So
up
you're
in the
13 people and 1 toilet
Up in the
inside?
back corner was a
No, we
shed.
had 2 toilets.
You only had one in the house.
No, yeah, and the one was down the workshop.
Yeah, the one. Yeah.
Well, you can't.
Oh, well, I don't count that because that used
Before
to be.
that, when we got the house, there was none in the house.
So in the backyard, they had the shed, which was here, which was Pop's shed, and the outhouse was there. Right there. And that bit there was a wood pile. Wood pile.
Yeah, that's under the trees there,
And
guys.
this was like their backyard. So Pop, this was the garage was here. The garage was here and that was the driveway. So Pop built a seat along this garage wall. Right? And then he built, oh wow, I reckon he might have been the first one. Do you build the barbecue or did Bernie build the barbecue? And up here in this corner was a built-in barbecue. Wow, was that exciting? No one had barbecues then.
Well, that would have been.
So that was
Pretty
the outhouse. And the built-in barbecue. So you would have all this area that was all seating, and this was this was grass up to here. This was all concrete, and that was grass.
And a bird
And you
cage
would-
along the side of the garage.
And you would have here, that would be a table big enough for everybody to sit around, and that grass strip would be where the little kids played, or we played over here. So the little kids were allowed to play there, and the bigger kids played here.
Was there any pressure on you as the oldest statesman, the oldest child? Do you remember? Was there any, your dad, your mum, was there any, you had to do this and you had to do that?
I had a few things like, I can't remember. I'd have to, when I come home from school, I'd do my homework. And then I had to go over to the billiard hall and run the billiard hall while Dad come and had his tea.
Yeah, right,
Then he'd come around the billiard hall and I'd come home.
right, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would be after tea every night. Pop would be down. They had a big table. Their table was huge in the living room. Huge. Auntie Rosie had a big table. This table was bigger because you basically could fit their whole family around it every day of the week, but everyone's partners as well. It was huge. So Pop would be down here, this end of the living room, because basically the table would just fit there. And when Nana got sick, they there was double doors here to the
That's
hallway.
24.
Yeah. Nana had a chair there when she was sick, and you would just get the table in with her chair there because she couldn't
Nana
bear it.
was up the top right opposite the kitchen, and I sat beside her.
Yes.
Dad was down the other end.
Yes, it'd probably be down.
And
probably
Bernie
down
had
here.
to sit beside him because Bernie was a little bastard.
He'd get in trouble all the time, Bernie. Probably be down here, and then the entry would be here, and Nana, I don't know how she ever got that shoe box in, the nugget box in, because she used to lean on the nugget box. You weren't allowed to stand, you had to kneel. You're allowed to turn your chair around though. You're allowed to turn the chair around and kneel, sort of leave yourself on the chair. But Nana used to bring in the nugget box. And she used to somehow fandangle the paper out of the kitchen onto her nugget box, and Pop would be up here, and he never said a word, and he never knew. And he'd go through, it was not one decade of the rosary. We did the whole freaking 5 decades of the rosary. We did the poor hand prayers and the end hand prayers. And me and Colin used to get to the end because we were too little, and I'd say, what are they saying? She'd go, I don't know, I just go, and we couldn't understand what they said. And we just sit there. And then the worst thing would be if the girls were going out, or the younger kids were going out, you could tell, because it'd be, Pop, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. And then whoever was going out, bless our Lady, Bible, Jesus! That would be it.
Yeah. So your dad, Leo, he's basically sold up from the farm. He comes.
No, didn't sell the farm.
Didn't sell the farm.
Just walked off it, left it. They owned it.
So what did he do? What happened to that farm?
Well, they eventually sold it in a year or two before the Korean War.
1948.
48,
49.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
He and Uncle Ben owned it.
Yeah.
But because they were both, well, there was nothing there because it's been left for the whole war years.
Mm.
And I think I can remember him telling me that he got £8 an acre for it when they sold it. It wasn't a big farm.
Yeah. How big a farm was it?
I would never clue.
Right.
But it wasn't big, you know.
Okay.
So they were a lot poorer than the Murphys.
Right.
Extremely a lot poorer than the Murphys.
Mm.
Right.
But he got some money for it at that time. He got some money for it at that time. But he's back in. He started a new life. He's brought Johanna to Mount Road. Yeah.
By that stage they'd had 2 and 1 on the way.
2 on 1 on the way. You and Leo. Margaret is on the way, and they're basically come to this new the billiard hall, cutting hair. This world there in Mount Road. So here's a question: is that well, the first thing is that what we notice about Leo, your dad, he seems to be like a bit of an entrepreneur.
Oh, he was. Otherwise he wouldn't have survived.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this...
I mean, to come from a farm,
yeah,
to come down here, and how, I don't even know
yeah,
how he bought a billiard hall
right.
with everything else. I mean,
Well, the other day...
the thing is, it might have bought, the billiard hall was really secondary. He bought the property which had a residential in it, which I told you about,
Yeah,
and it had a barber shop, and then beside that was a chemist, which the bloke Barbie,
yeah,
who owned the properties, he owned that,
yeah,
right? So only reason I could think he bought it was that to cut hairs.
Now, the other day, I've written here that he borrowed £200 from brother Jack,
That's right.
who's a copper in Bendigo.
Yep.
And
That was a deposit.
that's the deposit for the barber shop and the billiard
For the
hall.
whole property.
And I've written here £2,400
Yeah, it was.
he borrows, right? He goes to school for 6 months to learn how to cut hair. The Korean War starts. And Johanna by this time has 5 kids. John, Leo, Margaret, Kathleen, Maureen.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's a bit of an entrepreneur, this is the point. Now, the name Arthur Caldwell, does that ring a bell at all?
Yeah, of course it does.
Right, okay. And Janine mentioned this, Arthur Caldwell. Was he a Prime Minister or what? I don't know. Was he?
No, Arthur Caldwell,
Yeah,
it's well known, people can look up some of the documents around.
yeah,
But he was the local member
yeah,
in the federal parliament for us, and he lived well, 4 streets down.
right.
He used to come up to get his hair cut by the old man.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And he went to St Joe's also.
right, okay.
That's just a cover. And also, he was a very, very strict Catholic.
Right,
And they all went to St Brendan's Church.
yeah, okay.
Right?
So was Pop a National man or was he a Labor man?
What?
In
So just in
politics?
terms of his politics.
No, he was originally a Labor man like all
Yeah.
the people for the bush.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
okay.
And then when they split, he went to DLP.
Yeah. So even though he was an entrepreneur,
That's when
And a
Arthur
capitalist.
Caldwell signed I'm put, because I can't talk to you, Leo, you know. They're hopeless, so that's what they were like.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's what happened. So he didn't come up to get his hair cut and all that again. He didn't go to Mass at St Brendan's any longer because the priest there at the time was the Raja. I can't remember. his
The
name.
Raja.
Yeah, we called him the Raja. But he was the priest there. He was a chaplain on the ships during the war. So you know what he was like, and he was of Irish descent. You know. Yeah.
So, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So
He's
Arthur never give his religion away. He wouldn't go to St Brendan's again.
Yeah.
He used to go to St Francis in the city all the time. Wouldn't come near us. Yeah.
Interesting. So your dad's with the DLP.
Yeah.
Now, when you're there, he's basically got a billiard hall. He cuts hair. He's a barber, but he's also an SP bookie,
Yep.
right? And you're about 9 years of age, right? And the word cocky, I asked Janine the other day what a cocky was. I said, what's a cocky? You're a cocky.
Oh. Well, that was but that was that at that point. They had bookies, 3 bookies down the back of the pub because the lane man passed us and down past Prince of Wales.
Yeah,
And there was 3 SP bookies in those days. They merged. They had betting sheets up on the post like it's the thing that used to be at the races.
yeah.
You go down there.
So you go down the back of the lane.
Yeah.
And
that's
there's
a bet, yeah.
have a bet.
Yeah.
And that's illegal, isn't it? That was illegal, wasn't it?
Yeah, but was, yeah.
Yeah.
But I never sort of pursued to,
Yeah.
because I don't know why it was illegal.
So as a cocky, what was your job? Janine's saying you're about 9 years old, and what's a cocky do?
Well, I just stood on the end of the lane if I seen a police car, run down and say, "Hey, the cops are in." That was my job. Nothing else. Yeah.
Now, as you're going along, you know, it's about, 52, 53, 54, you're at school, and you're doing accounting and maths.
Yeah.
What's your recollection of what you wanted to do, what you ended up doing? Did you want to do accounting and maths? Did you want to do building? Because you're a well-renowned sort of, builder.
No, it had nothing to be mine. I had to go to school, so I went to school and I was doing accounting, so I was good at maths and...
Right.
Yeah.
So you didn't have a problem with that?
No.
Didn't have a problem with that? And was there any sort of aspirational stuff where, Pop said you should do this or you should do that? Because we've already established that he's a bit of an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
By his own nature.
Oh no, he just made me have to go to school.
Okay. And so you had no bones about,
Whereas
doing...
Leo, he let Leo become his apprentice in the hairdresser salon.
Ah,
Yeah.
right. Is that how that worked?
Yeah.
Ah,
Right?
okay. Well, that's interesting.
because
I never made that connection before.
No, well see, I was top on the classes at school, so
Yeah.
it makes me the juniors,
Yeah. So you're doing well, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good with numbers.
That's before I went to St Joe's and that, I was top of the classes at St Brendan's. In fact, I jumped a year once.
Right.
I went from 3 to 5, I didn't have to do grade 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got academic intelligence at that point. It's recognised. Now, in that period of time as well at school, from a sporting point of view, looking at the records, you're also pretty good at athletics, running.
Oh yeah, I was very good at running. Yeah.
Right. Okay. What's your recollection of that?
Well, like we used to have to run that. Well, it was only in the school sports.
Yeah.
I never got beaten.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you quit.
But being typical, I didn't follow up. Mum used to get into me about it. Go out and they're trying to go because she had, I believe, I think it was a cousin. He ran third in the store gift.
Right. You say a
that's
cousin?
going way back,
Right. Okay.
And she said, "No, you can be as good as your uncle ever was,
Yeah.
So she was pushing me, but I got to go out and do training. I was doing everything else but. But I wasn't drinking.
It's 1985 now. You're 49, almost 50. And we go to Bendigo for the reunion. It's a Gleason reunion.
Yeah.
Recollections.
900 there for that.
Really, 900. Wow. It was a big event. It was a big event, wasn't it?
At the race course.
Yeah. Big event. People, 900 people.
Huh?
900 attended.
Well, they come from everywhere. I mean, there was, like, we breed.
Leo Gleason. What's his background? Where did he come from?
We come from Ireland, but just where. I mean, they do know. I think Margaret went out there and found a grave. Some old cemetery. She was the group and they found that. See, all the records prior to 1808 are gone.
Right.
Right, they were all destroyed by the bombs.
Destroyed by the Poms?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when they wiped all the churches and that out. There's only 1812 actually, 1812 to be exact. And there's only one place which we went to while we were there. It's called Ballyhooly, and their records go back to 1808.
Wow.
All the records before that have been totally destroyed.
We're in we're back in the era of 18 years of age to 21 years of age, and we want to deal with this issue of where did you meet Mary?
I told you how that, yeah.
Yeah, so we've just got to go over that again because the thing broke down, so just go back to that and tell that story as best you can. Where did you meet Mary? 18 to 21, because that's unclear at the minute. So where did you meet? How did that all come about? with Mary?
Oh, Mary, I met her at the dance, yeah. I told
Okay,
you.
so dance, yeah. So was this a dance that,
St Brennan's Parish Hall every Sunday night.
right, okay, so there's a dance every Sunday night,
Yeah.
and how old do you think you are at that point?
Oh, I suppose I was 18.
18, okay.
Yeah.
So what was the starting point there? You saw her, or you knew her, or you were introduced to her?
Didn't have a clue. I think I told you, didn't take a note about it. I bet a bloke, when we went to dance at St Brendan's,
Yeah,
very few went escorted,
right,
right, in those days. And all the girls would come from various groups, like Mary and a heap of them come from St Columba's. I was either just gone, finished school and that. There's a group of them which were trainee nurses over at the Sacred Heart Hospital. And that was them, so they'd come, and wherever else, anyhow, there's a group of them, they got there like in those days. And they sat all along one side of the hall, and all the rooty-tooty idiots like us, we'd come in, and we're this side of the hall. And then you'd go over and ask someone for a dance.
right.
That's how it worked in those days.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah. So what happened? Did you go and ask Mary for a dance? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But you could
Before
have.
that, I said to John Eddie, I bet you I can have a dance with that Sheila over there.
Right.
and I said, and I'll take her home. Which is, that was a bit ambitious.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's
So-
exactly what happened. I got over, caught myself at having a dance with her, and I took her home. I'm taking her home was getting on the tram, walking down the street with her to her house. Hello, lovely night. See you later. See
Yeah.
you next Sunday.
Right.
That was it.
That was it.
But we had a bet. I think I told you that one too. He bet me a pot I couldn't do it. So John Eddie being a very straight man, you wouldn't believe it. The next day, we're both working. Yeah, after work.
Yeah.
I met him at the Laurel and he bought me a pot. Yeah. Pot in those days was big value.
A big deal. So what happens after that? So you get the first one, and so then you go to the. I'm thinking you would obviously go to the dance the next week.
We went every week.
Went every week.
Yeah.
And so eventually you got to know each other better, I guess. Is that what happened?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it didn't take long for that. Yeah.
Yeah. What about, there's a recollection in my memory of where, I don't know, is there somehow she takes you home to get introduced to people down at where was she living? What's the name of the street? That whole area?
What, where we live?
No, where she lived. You were taking her
Oh,
home.
she lived in what's that street?
Hilda
Street. Yeah, Hilda Street. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you have any recollection of that where you took her home and you had to wait and she was going to introduce you to people, or how did that whole?
No, I can't remember anything about that bit. I know that Auntie Rosie, which is her de facto mother, because her mother died when she was 3.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely, lovely, lovely lady. She had a good future until her mother died, and she gave up her job to look after the kids.
Auntie Rosie.
Yeah.
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 I've got strawberry cooler
Oh,
outside.
Do you have any recollection of meeting Rosie, Lenny?
I really don't. Well,
Francis,
Lenny was a little kid running around somewhere, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, Auntie Rosie, Auntie Mary.
What about her dad?
Uncle,
What about her dad? Was he there then?
Uncle Jack arrived on the scene later. Auntie Rosie, Auntie Mary, Uncle Frank, and the other brother that served in New Guinea, Uncle Yeah. So they're all terrific people. Yeah.
Was her dad there? Was he around at the time?
That's a good question. Actually, I can't recall.
Do you remember what he did? What was he?
Well, yeah, he used to sand floors,
So when Mum came for tea the first time,
and you wouldn't know.
oh no, well, you tell the story,
Yeah.
Dad. You tell the story.
And she comes down for the first time. I bring her down to meet the family.
Poor thing. Poor thing.
And the house is about the same distance from the road as here. It was a child's thing. I don't know where they got the bag, but he had the kids put out a red carpet for her. And all it consisted of was wheat bags. And she's going, well, firstly, she's never come across things like this, so you can imagine what she's doing. And we're all sitting around the table. And here's Mary standing up. Oh, gee, we didn't get a chair for Mary. So they went out and got a banner box. And we had an old toilet seat. Slapped that on the banner box. Can you imagine the introduction?
No, I wouldn't be happy.
Eh?
I wouldn't be happy.
So she doesn't know what's it. So anyhow, she sits down. And then, so she, well, had a meal and all that and stayed for a while and met Mum, Dad, back, anyhow, took her up. I'm never going back to your place again. Well, yeah, needless to say, about a month later, I proposed to her or something. And I had her father and Auntie Rose who brought her up, come down for tea. We were a bit more decorum.
So her dad comes down.
Yeah.
Right. Now, where's he living? What's your recollection? Is he living, because Lenny tells me he's in Castlemaine.
Yeah, he was in Castlemaine. He was up down at
Murbu North.
North Murbu.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's bastard. Yeah. But yeah, finish the story.
So he comes to tea and Auntie Rosie comes to tea.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So they just said, oh, yeah, lovely family. Because we've all had the riot act.
Is that right? So who's read, is it your dad or your dad and your mum have both read the Riot Act? Or?
Yeah, well, I just said, enough. Right. Fun's fun, but that's enough. Especially with their family coming.
So everyone was on their best behaviour.
Yeah, unbelievable. So after that, of course, well, she fitted in with everyone perfectly, to be honest with you. And of course, when we got married, well, she was Mum's #1 girl. Oh,
of course, because she's the first one.
Yeah.
First cap off the rank.
Yeah. And then she had the 2 kids. 2 girls.
First two grandchildren that lived, yeah.
But round there, where we were, and opposite the pub and that, they were the only 2 kids in existence.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, did they have the best, like, we walking down the street, kids want to stop, and we had one bloke always stopped them and gave them a lolly. And this is only when they were about 2.
Yeah.
And they're running the show.
Yeah, that would have been a very special time, wouldn't it?
Oh,
because you were the first one married, the first grandchildren, the whole shebang. And what's your recollection of this is going good. So what's the recollection of, say, Pop, Leo, and the first 2 grandkids?
Mate.
Oh, Colleen.
They could have committed murder and he wouldn't have believed it.
Rubbish. Colleen was his golden girl. Me and Claire, because we were, well...
Well, now you're bringing in the third one.
No, so there's me, the first three girls, right? There's Colleen, me and Claire, right? Second child syndrome, Janine. Forget it. She's the first grandchild. Colleen got, and she loved the attention. Really liked Chloe. Imagine Chloe back in those days. Just give me some attention and I will sparkle away and you'll be fine. And that was Colleen. And then me and Claire came along and, oh, well, you've been there and done that. But then the boy came.
Michael. Ama.
Yeah, you would think he would be...
First boy.
You think he would be so excited. No, he wasn't a Gleason, he was an Ama. So guess who the first Gleason boy is?
Not Peter.
Peter.
You've trumped them both times.
I think I could be wrong on that unless Lee James out trumps Peter, but I reckon it's Peter is the first Gleason boy in the family. They had all these girls and all the others.
Interesting.
Duggins and everyone else,
Yeah.
but he's the first Gleason boy. So we've got the first Gleason girl and the first Gleason boy.
But we used to get...
And the first great grandchild. First great grandchild.
When I was growing up, like about 8 or something, we had the hairdressing salon, as I say, and they had those chairs. I don't know if they still have them.
The barber chairs.
And we used to get in there and swing around on the chairs and everything. The old man come in here and nearly kill us.
Yeah.
Except Colin.
When the two kids arrived,
Grandchildren.
they walked in. You want to ride in the chair? Oh, nearly kill him. Yeah.
New rules.
Yeah, new rules.
New rules for the grandchildren.
Yeah.
That's when we lived behind the bootmakers, which was behind the pub.
That was hard work. He done it all by hand.
When you say help you do the unit, you're talking about what's the unit? Is that your dad's barber shop?
Yeah, but the stuff behind it, yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I just had a flooring board floor and lino over it. And,
Do you remember his name? Now, her mum's name was Sadie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
his
his
name
name
was
was
Leonard Ashford.
What was
Leonard Edwin Ashford.
Leonard Edwin Ashford.
And Lenny's named after him, and him and Lenny didn't get on. And Lenny was his second son, so I don't know how that happened.
So, in those times, when you decided to get married, did you go and ask him? Is that how it worked? Did you go and ask him, could you marry Mary, or remember that at all?
oh, but yeah, well, I don't know what I asked. Yeah, I asked him just went through the week. I'm more interested in asking Auntie Rosie because she was the one that brought her up.
She was the family matriarch.
Yeah, well,
in a sense.
She was, she wasn't, you know what I mean? You know,
Yeah.
she never,
Mary was, really.
Auntie Mary?
Auntie Mary.
So can I just say that Auntie Mary is Auntie Rose's sister?
yeah.
And Auntie
Elder
Rosie,
sister, she was told.
Auntie Mary, when the kids moved in to live with the Brophies, right?
Yeah.
Because Auntie Rosie had a job,
Yeah.
and Auntie Mary had a job. Auntie Rosie was a chiropodist.
Yeah.
I don't know what Auntie Mary did. Anyhow, they worked out that Rose would stay home,
Yeah.
so she quit her job and she stayed home and looked after the kids. So she was a full-time surrogate mother.
So she's a professional lady and she doesn't do
Auntie
that.
Mary worked for the government.
And Mary worked for the government. So Mary brought in the money
Right.
Auntie Rosie
and
was
Auntie
the nurse.
Rosie brought up the kids.
Wow.
And Jimmy,
Yeah.
Uncle Jim,
Yeah.
he had his fruit shop.
Yeah.
And the other person...
He's a brother.
He's the brother, and the other person that lived there was Frank,
Yeah. He's a brother.
and he worked in the railways.
Yeah.
And the other person that lived there was Uncle Jack,
Yeah.
and he was a postie,
And he's a brother.
and he's a brother,
Right.
and he's a postie.
And so they're all like uncles. They're the uncles to Mary, Francis,
and Uncle
Leonard,
Jack, I don't know how
Jimmy.
Uncle Jack, I don't know how he fits in, but some
He came to live in this
but no one knew.
house out the back,
Yeah, but no one knew that Jack was.
and he had
Jack-
about 3 kids.
Yeah, Jack sort of wasn't involved with the family until he came to live out the back.
He arrived out of the blue.
Yeah, no one even sort of knew he was alive. And he had 3 kids, and he'd broken up with his wife, and he lived in this, like you would say, a shed out the back. Frank had a shed, Jack had a shed. Jimmy lived inside.
Yeah.
And Frank and
Jack was a postman.
Yeah. Frank worked on the railways and Jack was a postie.
So, do you have any recollection of what was the process in getting Mary's hand in marriage? Any recollection of that at all? Did you ask Auntie Rosie? What did you do? Any
Oh,
recollection?
I'm not sure. No, I probably asked the old man first.
Right.
Followed procedure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Because he lived in the house next door. to
Ah,
me, right?
okay.
So the house next door was, I don't know, I think the Brophy's aren't that for sure. Then there was the original Brophy house. Then there was the Fraser house,
Yeah.
which was, the wife was a Brophy. Then there was the Nelson house, which the wife was a Brophy.
Yeah.
And all that. Yeah.
So, John, we're basically, you've got married now. You're now married to Mary. It's 1958. You're 22 years of age, thereabouts. And so, where are you living? You know, try to take us on a bit of a journey. You're married. You're 22. It's 1958. I really don't even know where you're living. So I don't know whether I don't know where you're working. This sort of thing.
Well, I lived in where everyone lived through the war, in the flat that we had, Dad had.
Ah.
Yeah.
Is that at the barber shop?
Yeah.
At the back of the barber shop?
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know that. So you're living, basically you're living at the back of the barber shop.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got married and that's your first spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So were you paying him rent?
Yeah, I paid, I think I paid about £6 or something. Yeah.
Right, £6 a month.
That's another funny story. Yeah.
What's that story then?
Well, when we went on our honeymoon to Sydney, I was down to the uppers at nothing. Really did that nothing. Now we flew up to Sydney, stayed at Manly, and couldn't afford to fly back.
Is that right? Jeez.
Yeah, no way. But had just enough to buy a train ticket on the Spirit of Progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, I got to Albury, and at Albury in those days you had to change trains. And all I had was enough to buy Mary a pie. I don't kid you. That's all I had. So I bought her a pie, I had nothing. And then I said, oh, what's going to bloody happen when I get to Melbourne? Paid for a train fare, that's all I could do, see. So I get to Melbourne, and anyhow, me, oh, mate, you wouldn't believe this stuff. It's like fairy story stuff. Anyhow, I get there, and here's Mary's brother Jimmy waiting to pick us up. I did not have a dollar, not a dollar, I didn't have 10 cents on me.
Yeah.
Oh, shocking. Yeah. So, Oh, it's all funny stories when it's all over. At the time it wasn't. So Jimmy drives us home to the flat. We go to the flat, and the dad had put in a kitchen setting and all that. The whole table was covered
Food.
in pennies and halfpennies.
Really?
Look after the pennies and the money will look after itself. I grabbed it all, went straight down to the bank and got it turned into about five quid, I think. Oh, mate.
So who put that there?
That,
Yeah.
yeah, oh, mate.
So that was pretty good, wasn't it?
Well, yeah.
Jeez.
I reckon you're making those stories up, but that's what happened, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we survived.
And so you're back now from your honeymoon, and you're staying in the flat. And
Yeah,
so
well,
where were you work? What were you doing? Where were you working?
I was working for the government,
Right.
the Housing Commission.
Housing Commission. Okay. And what did you do? What was your job? What did you have to do?
Well, I was in the accounting department and all that. I was doing all the costings, things like that. Yeah.
Did you like it?
Did you
Uh,
Did you like it?
well, what happened? I originally started with a cooperative housing society, Collins and O'Connor, and I think I was getting. Let's just leave it school, but I was 18, but I mean, you didn't get much money in those days when you're 18. And I was studying the accounts, you know. And anyhow, I was getting £5 a week. And so I stayed there for 2 years, so I was still on £5 a week. And I reckon I was doing a ripper job. I was too.
Yeah.
Head of a wrapping shop up. So I seen the head honcho Collins, who owned the joint. I said, mate, I'm married. I think I've done a good job. I want to rise. Oh no, you have. I didn't have to be a dickhead to know that I was doing a real good job. So I don't know how it happened, but yeah, but someone said, well, go to the public service, you've got your accountants in there, and get into the Housing Commission. Whack, and you know, you made the life, right up. So I went there and got the job. So that was all right for a while. But they gave me a job. I had the Maidstone Housing Estate, which was, you know, Ballarat Road and all that. Well, that was just wasteland. Anyhow, I got the job to revalue the land, check out the costs, and you name it. So again, and you start with, you go from D up to A, you know, with the promotions. So, I think they're still on my rate today, the bloody public servant. So I'm a hot goer, I want to get up the ladder, I want some money, you know. And so anyhow, and it was quite interesting doing this job, but it took me about 15 months to do it. And every Thursday night, you had to work back 2 hours to get extra dollars. it was a bullshit. They're still going on. You know, it was not necessary to get the extra dollars. And anyhow, I put the whole thing together in 18 months. I was in the shit. You know, and it passed everything. Man, you got no idea what I had to do. You know, not evaluations, check titles. God, it was quite educating as well. But yeah, I was a bad boy. I was working flat out, trying to get a promotion. My bloke that was there, he used to go to lunch, and he'd come back about 2 hours after lunch because he was training dogs, and he was walking his dogs for racing. You know, that was the bullshit that was going on. It's unbelievable. You know, anyway, what was his name? I should remember his name. I would. But he said, you don't have to keep working like that. Slow down. I'm sitting there. What am I doing? I'm filling papers, reading papers. What am I doing?
Doing the job.
Yeah. Well, that was a no-no.
B004. Okay, the kids. So, you get married, and pretty early you start to have kids. You're married in 1958, and then in 1959, if my recollection is right, John comes along, but he doesn't survive, right? So, how did you deal with that in those days? I got no idea what happens.
Well, I don't know how we dealt with it, to be honest with you. I can't remember. I mean, other than, well, probably my mother is the best that she looked after Mary. God knows what, you know. Yeah.
So you remember there was Johanna, your mum is, I don't know, helping Mary or talking to Mary.
The old man, because the old man was in love with her by that stage. I reckon she used to take him in a cup of tea and something and a scone for morning tea and that. Oh no, she was the greatest thing since boiled lollies. Yeah, oh no, she was the big chief thing. Yeah.
Because she was the only one on the scene at that time.
Yeah,
you were the first one married.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so then Colleen comes along. It's about 1961, a couple of years later. And so it's the first, and so there would have, do you have any recollection of, well, here we go again, we're pregnant again. Then Colleen finally is born, 1961. That would have been pretty exciting.
Yeah.
That would have been a big...
heavy. Yeah.
So any recollections of that at all?
Nah.
John, between Leo, Johanna, first grandchild, Janine's not even on the scene. She's the number one.
Well, other than Mary became the senior queen of the whole joint. That was about it. Yeah.
When did Michael Amar came along, Janine?
Mike was after Claire.
Okay, so it's after you.
Yeah, so there's Colleen.
Yeah, right.
Colleen, me, Claire, Michael.
Yeah, so then what happens is Janine comes along 1 year later, 1962.
Yeah.
So you're leading the pack.
Yeah.
You got two. Now there's these two little kids who could do no wrong.
Oh, well, there's only two kids in the whole shopping centre. They ran the show.
Right.
Mary walked down the street with them in the pram and everyone stopped and the way it normally happened out there. But there's only 2 kids in the shopping centre. The shopping centre was all middle-aged people and all that. Well, that's it. You know.
So they were the pride and joy of the.
And the big thing, of course, was they're Mr. Gleeson's grandchildren.
Which carried a bit of weight.
Yeah.
And so 3 years later, Rosemary doesn't survive. Yeah. Any recollections of that?
But Rosemary,
That time, 65.
well, I can remember the night that she was born, I was over there at the hospital. It was a disastrous night that night. In those days you couldn't go into the delivery room. It's not that I really wanted to, but I sat outside and it's about 11 or 12 o'clock at night. Something like that, yeah. And anyhow, the nurse dies. Might be a bit of a joke now. The nurse dives out of the delivery room and says, "Come with me, quick, quick, quick!" Oh shit, what's happened? And anyhow, I had to go, so I just raced down with her down the corridor. We had to go in to collect some stuff. Anyhow, I come back, sit down again and nothing happens. And anyhow, babe, excuse me, the baby's delivered. Right, no problems. And Jimbo Solomon come out and said, "Oh, thank God," he said, "all the drama I had with the previous kids, the 3, this was the easiest birth I ever had. The baby is perfect."
Oh gosh.
So I go and see the baby in the crib. Hour later, panic stations.
1 hour later.
And the baby died. So that was a big,
And what happened?
I suppose in those days they didn't have the equipment they got today. They would have probably kept the baby alive, you know. But he said
So it was a shock.
right?
It was a shock.
More than a shock.
More than a shock.
So anyhow, after it was over, and I said to the nurse, "Why don't you scream out to me to go down here with you?" She said, "I'm afraid of the dark and I wanted someone to go with me."
Wow. Wow.
Forget that, yeah.
So that was a tough time. 1 year later, Peter's born. It's 1966.
Yeah.
It's the first son.
Yeah,
A
well,
boy.
he was a disaster. He was another disaster, yeah.
What happened there? I don't know. What's the story?
Oh, well, I can't remember now. He ended up in the human crib for about 6 weeks.
There? Right. Okay.
Oh, I mean, nothing like having simple babies now, John. Yeah. Yeah.
And then
6 weeks prem.
6 weeks premature, she's yelling out. Janine's saying 6 weeks premature.
She was 6 weeks. Peter was 6 weeks prem. He weighed
Can't remember.
2.5. No, was it 2.5 pounds, something like that? 2.5 pound. And he was in hospital for 3 months.
Wow.
And
Wow.
Mum used to have to go in twice a day to feed him.
Wow.
There we go. That's my synopsis of Peter.
No, we never had easy ones.
Well then, 8 years later, 8 years.
Yeah, I
Nigel.
Yeah, caught her with her pants down. Yeah.
Nigel comes along.
Yeah.
1974.
He was conceived the night after the Moonee Valley races, and Mum had had a win. She'd been drinking champagne all day, and he took advantage of her.
Right.
And she wasn't on the pill or anything in those days. She was, because, you know, you couldn't take the pill because of the church.
Right.
And she tried all these other things like the rhythm method, and I mean, she was hopeless at that. She used to just get stickers and stick them on the chart so she'd have something that she'd have no idea. And so he was a day at the races.
A day at the races. Nigel, a day at the races. Do you remember his birth at all? Do you remember Nigel's birth at all? Vaguely?
Actually, can't be honest with you. I don't know why. Wasn't the drama the other
There
day.
was no drama with Nigel, and Dad just rang Michael and Jackie
Yeah.
because they'd already worked out that Michael was going to be the godfather.
Right.
And Michael turned up at Moon on Crescent with one of those German Stein things, you know, the lid on a beer, and he wouldn't let Mum get out of the house until she had his beer, and he said, "Oh, we need a boy."
And we have to go over, remember the other day the thing broke down? So what's happening is that you've got these kids and you're basically saying, listening to your words, you're saying, I'm hungry for a buck. I'm hungry for a buck. So you're in the government, you're working, you've come out. And what happened is you're at IAC, the name Jack Collard.
Yeah.
IAC stands for?
Industrial Acceptance Corporation. Doesn't exist any longer.
Okay.
It's a subsidiary of a big American bank.
A subsidiary of a big American bank.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so I thought it was interesting. Let's pick up that story again because we didn't get it. And you were telling this interesting story about how the transition from IAC to AVCO.
Seaboard it was originally. Yeah.
It was called Seaboard.
Yeah.
So AVCO was Seaboard.
No, Seaboard was bought out by AVCO.
Seaboard was bought out by AVCO.
Yeah.
And so you were talking about the story of someone from AVCO, I think, is ringing Jack to ask about Mr. Gleeson.
Yeah.
Remember that story?
Yeah.
And it was about wages and
Yeah.
and if that's what Mr. Gleeson says that, then that's what it is. Remember that story?
That's right,
I want to pick up on that story.
Jack Collard. Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing broke down the other day. So you want to get that story because that's a good story. And it's the transition from IAC, you're hungry for a buck, moving into this AVCO Seaboard. And we'll talk further, and that will lead into the story of AVCO because you made this mention of it's the most profitable branch in the world, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we want to do is try to capture this story again. Just we go over that again. That story of because you're hungry for a buck, and also in that time, I'm not sure whether you're delivering the milk. You had 3 jobs.
No, at that time I wasn't delivering milk. I was delivering milk when I was with
The government.
the government days.
Yeah.
But he was penciling.
Well, that's another story. That's the penciling comes in. I'm not sure how the penciling fits into it. So, at IAC, what did you do there? What was your role at IAC?
Oh, it's just Clark managing accounts. IAC was a finance company, financing car sales and all that for various car sale companies.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So I think the key words for me is car sales.
Yeah.
Very specific, cars.
Yeah, well, that's all it was.
Yeah.
And I just had to, they'd submit people for loans, and I just had to check the people out.
Right. Okay.
And go down once a month and at the various car yards we were subsidising and check their stocks.
Yeah. So, at IAC, what's your recollection of how that ties in? Like, I've got you pegged here at IAC at age 26. It's 1962. Now you about right? And how long did you work there for?
About 5 years, I suppose.
Okay, that makes sense. Because in 1967, I've written in here that Avco comes into the scene. So tell me the story of the transition again from what made you go from IAC? How did that happen where you went from IAC to Avco at age 31? You were 31 years of age, it's 1967.
Well, quite simple. I knew a couple of blokes because Seaboard had just been here for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And a few people that I knew in other companies had moved across and got huge salaries.
Yeah, right.
So I said, I'll be in this.
Yeah.
And one of the blokes that was us was, I don't know if you met him, but you know of him, was Des Hart.
Yeah.
Right, well, Des Hart went across. So I said, I'll give it a go. So I made an application to join him.
Okay.
And I was earning, what was I earning? Less than $2,000 a year in those days.
Yeah.
And so I said I'm earning $3,000 and something a year.
Yeah.
And that's when Mike Feeney rang, what's her name, anyhow.
Mike
Feeney.
Feeney
said, well, if he said he was earning that, that's what he was earning.
Is Mike Feeney talking to Jack Collard?
Jack Collard's the bloke I'm talking about,
Yeah. Okay. And so that was your big bump. You got a bump at that time. You're about age 31, and you got this, increase.
Nearly doubled my salary.
Nearly doubled your salary, right? So you double your salary, right, by making this move, and what's the and so you've got this. Do you remember much about that changeover? So you're now managing a branch at Footscray. Yeah. And do you remember much about? I don't know. Did you feel comfortable about that? Was it easy for you? A brand new branch.
Yeah.
But what happened was along the way, it's the most profitable branch in the world. Is that true? The most profitable branch in the world. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I've got for
Yeah.
But only for one half year or something.
Yeah. Okay. But even still, right? So it's recognised as the most profitable branch in the world. But were there? So what happened with that? What happened with the transition from Avco to Elmore Finance? Did Elmore Finance come out of that transition directly?
No. I thought I could run my own show, but I seen what was happening and so I thought I had a couple of blokes put a few bob in, and I said, yeah, we'll have a go. Who'd you say? We've run it the same sort of way. A mate of mine had done it, Peter Clark, and he was doing very well.
So what you're talking about, Peter Clark, he sets up his own finance company?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's the issue. So you're basically saying, you're asking yourself the question, you're in Avco, you're looking at how they do things, and you're saying, you know what, we could do this ourselves. And
Yeah.
Peter Clark actually did it. And that was a catalyst to you starting Elmore.
That's right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So for you to leave Avco though, you were doing pretty good, weren't you? Most
No,
profitable?
I was doing all right, but I had a couple of blues with management upstairs.
Yeah.
Not the Yanks,
Not the Yanks.
the local management upstairs. About 3 blokes. Guess what? They were all fucking poms. You wouldn't believe it. All come from pommy families.
Yeah.
I know. And one bloke said to me, well, I'm going to get you. And I was like, these blokes have got no idea. But anyhow, so I said, so that's why I started putting my head down and looking around, you know.
Yeah, yeah. What weren't they happy with? Do you think?
Because I criticised them on getting rid of a couple of blokes which I thought were terrific blokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, basically. And they didn't like my attitude to them, being
Yeah.
poms, that
Yeah.
didn't help.
There's two strikes, yeah.
Yeah.
But what about the way you conducted business? Was there any issues with the way you conducted business?
No,
No.
no. In fact, I expanded the business by using some of the contacts from the previous companies and bringing companies across, you know,
Yeah.
to deal with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just talking about the start of Elmore Finance. And John's been at Avco dealing with the pommy bastards, thinking along the lines of, bit of insurance. Peter Clark's gone out and set up something successful in his own right. So how did Elmore Finance start? You mentioned something before about someone gave, I don't know, $100,000 or something.
Yeah.
How did it start? How did you're going to leave Avco?
Yeah,
How
I had
did-
a lot of clients then that went through Avco, so I just rang them up and tell them going out my own.
Right. So you poached Avco clients.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. And was there any, for example, I'm thinking, was there any threats from Avco that you're poaching our clients or anything like that in those days? No. Right.
Well, I was a little shitty at that point in time,
Yeah.
you know.
They wouldn't have given
They
a
were
shit.
firing. So.
Couldn't have cared less, right.
They actually would send you people that they knock back.
That's a fair point, okay. And so you start out, do you remember talking to Mary at all about, I'm going to go out by myself? What was the occasion like? That I'm going to go out and I'm going to start my own finance company?
No, I just did my own thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember did she have any input at all? Or she just said, away you go?
No.
Did you ask? Did you ask or did you just do?
I wanted to say something that I've got this recollection that Mary used to do, I don't know, with the Avco days in particular, a bit of entertaining. And I'd go with John, this sort of stuff. Is that true or not true? Did that happen?
No.
Not
No.
with Avco.
Not with Avco.
the-
She only went with me when we had to go for dinners.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. With Avco. Okay. So what was that like? What's this journey like? We're about 1976, you're 40 years of age, you've got 4 kids, Colleen's 15, Janine's 14, Peter and Nigel. Nigel's just 3, yeah. Just think back to that time, 1976, age 40, starting Elmore. Was it easy? Was it hard? I don't know. What was that like?
Well, it was
Risky?
well, it was risky, no way about that.
How much money did you have to put in to start? And where did you get the money?
Yeah. How did that all work?
Well, the point is that we'd done the deals and I sold it off to the big companies.
Yeah, but how did you get the setup money? Like you had to have an office, you had to buy stationery, you had to pay Anne, you had a secretary. So where did all that money
Yeah, you
come
got to
from?
find it. You got to pay someone, and
No. I had contacts with other big finance companies like Lombards and that. I had them for that. And, yeah.
Yeah, but Dad, at some stage you opened the office, you went to 343, so you rented the office. So you had to put a bond on the building, on the rent. So where did the money come from?
can't remember.
So how did you finance it?
Yeah. How'd you finance this new business?
Well, I'd write them deals and then sell them off to Lombards.
Yeah, but we
And
know
then
that's how you ran the business. What I'm saying is, did you have the money for the start-up costs? How did you afford the office and a wage?
Because the bloke that said he'd got me traded was, I can't remember his name now, he put the money up. He was an accountant and he was an accountant for the other bloke.
Dad said before, Phil, that someone lent in $100,000.
And he said, oh, he's doing it, well we can do it. You want to be in it? He
But I
funded
don't
it.
know.
Did somebody lend you $100,000 to start Elmore?
Well, yeah, once I got started there was no worries.
Okay, but did
Because
somebody?
by then I'd already negotiated discounting deals with the banks.
Did somebody lend you $100,000 to start Elmore?
Well, it was up to 100, yeah.
Okay, so somebody backed you.
Yeah.
Ah,
But you can't remember the name of the person, and I've never heard this story before.
Rid.
You said
Really?
he was part of it before.
What?
You said before that he was part of it. I'm trying to remember his first name. Lance Reardon.
Yeah, well, he was the one.
Lance, there you go.
Yeah, well, he was the accountant for the other bloke
I don't know who that is.
that had all his own money.
Don't know who.
And when Red put on, and I rang the other bloke, I said, I was sure at the moment, he gave me 35,000.
what's his
I
name?
pissed Redden off.
What's his
Hey,
name?
what's it?
I'll get you to. You
uh,
relax. You think of the names, I'll get through. 35,000.
what's
Who
it?
gave-
I can't remember. Anyhow.
So we're now, there's a point in life now that the recession we had to have, Paul Keating, all these properties, the wheeling and dealing. But then you're about 55 years of age, 1991, and you have to look towards new horizons. Elmore's now wound up, and you find yourself working at the mill, I'm going to call the mill, with Peter.
Yeah.
Mill.
A paper mill.
What it's called? The paper mill, yeah. The paper mill.
Yeah.
So how was that, what was that like to, you know, I've always admired the way you sort of went from one to the other, roll with the punches, to go from having your own business, there's a catastrophe, there's a recession, and you're working at the mill with Peter. How did you deal with all that? Do you remember?
Kept right with the punches, mate, and kept going. What else are you supposed to do?
So what did you do with the mill? So Peter had a contract there. I'm thinking he had a contract.
But I had but he had the contract to get the job.
Yes.
But if I didn't come in, he had no hope of getting going, mate.
I'm thinking you were doing painting, or you was painting.
We just
Renovations?
had to do maintenance work.
Maintenance work.
We were there for about 3 years.
Right. Okay. That feels, yeah.
Heck more, yeah.
And then, was that the formation of Elmore Construction?
Probably, I think we might have.
Probably. Okay. So really, you've gone from
Oh,
Elmore.
I don't know whether we done that when we built those 2 units around the corner.
That happened after. I can remember that happened after.
Could be.
And of course, then after that, you were working for a company contracting with this company Huffcore.
Yeah.
Remember that? How long do you reckon that went on for?
That was a good business. Huffcore, that went for about two or 3 years.
And that contract, how did that contract come about?
Well, there was there's some other company got into Huffcore, and they had some contacts, and they so we got the flick. And the company that got into Huffcore, probably owned it, I don't know, had all these other companies that they had, so see you later, Maury. Yeah, because we never had a contract at Huffcore, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
What's your recollection of working with Peter? You got, it's like 6 or 7, it's 5, 6, 7 years working with your son now, who, is in building and construction, and you'd go off each day in the van.
Pretty unpredictable, to say the least, yeah.
But still paid the bills. But still paid the bills.
Yeah.
So, do you remember when Huntley Street burnt down? You're about 56, it's 1992.
Oh, sure, I just said burnt down, the court.
Oh, not burnt down,
home one night, yeah.
Yeah, what happened with that? What was that? What happened? You come home and how did that all? I don't have a recollection. That thing had burnt, but.
Yeah, because I was on crutches at the time. What was that for? Yeah, I was on crutches and we come home at night. I just come up this thing and lucky we just got there at the time. So we called the fire brigade because it was just sort of burning inside at the time, you know.
Yeah.
In the chimney, yeah. And actually we were lucky the damage wasn't, relatively speaking, wasn't that bad. And anyhow, the fire brigade came through, they did a ripper job, Yeah, so I thought we were in trouble there on that one because it happened round the chimney, and the fire brigade, like they'd say, excuse me, must be sometime in winter because the fire was going in the thing below, and shoot myself a bit about that one, and anyhow, the fire brigade went through it all, and then the SEC, and they came through, because I was worried about it, because it was a flat roof out the back, and I'd done all the wiring and all that, and I was a bit worried.
Yeah.
And yeah, they all went through it all and said, nah, everything was spot on.
Relief.
Yeah, so they paid for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure it happened because the insulation wasn't right.
Yeah.
But, and on top of that, we had a timber ceiling inside. And then there's only that much space between the ceiling and the flat decking. And then in between that was the timber, insulation, and then the metal roof.
Yeah.
So we're just lucky that we scored that one. Yeah. And then panic stations until all the experts went up and said, no, there's nothing wrong with what was done. So I got a couple of votes on that one. I didn't tell them that I did it all.
They didn't ask, obviously. I don't think, probably.
Yeah.
Well, a few years later, so you come to stay with us, 12 to 18 months, I guess. But you end up at Raleigh Road. That's what I said, Raleigh Road, 18th of Feb 1994. You're now 58 years of age. But was there a special story of how you got into there, Raleigh Road? Do you remember that story at all?
Well, that's the story I was looking. I just had come on the market, but that actually I think it had been on the market for a while. And
Why did you sell Why did you sell Huntley Street?
well, we had to sell all of that. And that was all before Raleigh Road. I bought Raleigh Road because I went to the official receiver and I said, listen, there's a couple of blokes that got a massage parlour, and they got plenty, and that you got all your money, but I reckon you can. And I was trying to do the right thing by the receiver then, and said, I reckon you could get them for penalty interest, because they're not sure they got everything. And the official receiver said, we are not interested. So, I rang up the whoever it was, so I had to ring up, and I said, listen, I reckon I'm entitled to penalty interest rates. They got plenty of money, and the bloke said, yes, send me in a bill. Okay, that was that easy. They just didn't want to know about it. Send me the bill, you're entitled to penalty rates. And I got, I think I got about over $20,000. And that gave me the deposit to buy that joint. You couldn't believe it, but that's what, if you get involved with these dickies, they couldn't give us that. It's not their money. Yeah. I said, how easy is this?
1987.
Sorry?
You're about 51 now. 1987.
He's not about 51, he is 51. Isn't he? No. 1987.
And what's happening is that you've got all these properties, John. It's 275 to 277 Mount Road.
Yep.
And at that point, someone said you were looking at buying the Laurel. And you had these other properties, Eleanor Street, Empress Avenue, Church Street, 27 Huntley, 29 Huntley, 44 Huntley, a farm in Wood End, Barwon Heads was to come.
Down Barwon Heads.
So, what was your thinking there? Do you have any recollection of your thinking? You're acquiring all these properties. Any reflection of that particular time in history? Acquiring all these properties, you're in business. Elmore seems to be flying along. It's 1987, you're 51. You're buying these properties and you're, say for example, Empress Avenue.
Ever heard of a bloke called Keating?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I got him pegged here at the recession we had to have, 1991. 55. Yeah.
Well, he brought me down.
Right. Because
The Laurel Hotel was up for sale.
yeah.
I had the two properties beside it.
You did 70. Yep.
We had access at the back,
Yeah.
and so I said, "How if we?" And it was $780,000.
For the Laurel.
Yeah.
Right.
So I said, "Now if we buy that, we've got the three in a row. We've got the lane at the back way, so that come access from the next street,
Yes.
and that. And if we own that property, continue the lane into the next street, which will then you can drive straight through, and build a drive-in, take away food, take away food thing.
Yeah.
It was staring you in the face.
Yeah.
So, $780,000. So I go to the bank. I said, "Here's the story. I need 780. You know my situation." So I've got to buy this, and this is what I want to do with it.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Of course, you don't know the rest of the story, do you? Firstly, all of a sudden we got a new bank manager.
Coincidence. Yep.
I'm waiting for answers. Up the street, just past Mooney Street, there's a property went on the market. This is when the disaster started.
Yeah.
It was on the market, no figure, and it went to auction. It was only a double-storey, semi-detached thing, one step back from the street. And it went for 60,000 more than they thought. This was when, just before Cootie fiasco. Climate Man pulls the pub off the market. Next day, the bank rings me. Said, "You can have your money." I said, it's not going to work. Things taken off the market. Oh, well, you can have up to $1 million. I said, if I get them, I know every figure on this bloody pub. The secret figures and all that. Got the right contacts. I said, give me $1 million, I can't pay it. It's impossible. It's just not generating the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I could have bought that, and when I first put him in submission, they said yes, I've been sweet. I've had those 3 properties then. I would have been able to have the drive-in bottle shop, which the whole thing, the funding worked out pretty good. I had to get things like, say, the lights for people to walk over. I had to get them to be removed up the street. They had problems because they're only put in there because Bill McMurray was frightened about crossing to go home at night when he closed the pub. So anyhow, they come back, as I say, and said, well, you got $1 million. I said, mate, I know everything about that you'd never know. $1 million I can't service. 780 I can. So anyhow, so it's all over. Could you imagine if I'd had that? Well, like the people that got it anyhow, apparently had plenty of money up in Matthews Avenue or somewhere here, engineering works.
Yeah.
His wife wanted a pub. So
Right.
and they spent over $1 million on the pub.
God.
If I'd have got it, and done my drive-in bottle shop thing, and that, because that could pay for itself. That was easy to pay for, at that figure.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Dan Murphy couldn't have been opposite. Dan Murphy would have to buy me, wouldn't he?
Yeah, true.
Not that I knew Dan Murphy was arriving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that happened in
he
the
couldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's life.
Barwon Heads. Barwon Heads.
Yeah.
And what's your recollection of how that all come about? Because we spent about 15 years there, or more,
Yeah.
of pure family bliss, enjoyment, etc. But I know one of the houses was taken from Huntley Street and transported down.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm thinking somehow you were making some reparations or something to Sean, possibly. So what's your recollection of that story, the Barwon Heads, how it evolved?
Well, that's, what do you want to know? I was way ahead of my time. Got it down there. Everyone said you're mad. I got it down there, got it all set up, done. $18,000 it cost me.
To move it down?
Move it down and put it together, then I worked on it and fixed it up.
Yep.
$18,000. Cleared the block, anyhow, then I got, anyhow. So, I owned, that was in the past, right? When it was all put together, I think council valued it at $180,000.
Mm.
And the shit hit the fan with everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it came back to, it was worth about 300 when all the shit hit and down there went down.
Mm.
It came down to worth, I think, 96,000.
Mm.
Well, I had to sell it. And not only that, well, Sean bought it off me because I owed him money, right? Because he was in it 6 times over. 96,000, I think it was the deal. Of course, I done what I wanted to do. What happened there? Done exactly what I was going to do. Subdivided the block at the back, put 3 units up, 2-story units at the back.
It was a huge block.
Yeah, that's right, it was huge. That's what I put it for. 3 units at the back. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. I think they sold them for about 150,000 each.
Mm.
And the house, I don't know whether they kept it or whether they sold it. I think they might have sold it for about 350.
Mm.
Yeah. The roll of the dice.
But geez, there was a lot of enjoyment there, wasn't there?
Oh,
For a long time.
Oh, well, that's right, you know.
Went on and on and on. We're in 1983. You're about 47. September. And you're going to take your first trip to the US because you'd won, or you'd stacked up some
Insurance
points.
paid for it.
Insurance paid for it.
We won a competition.
You're going to go to Europe. Sean's involved. He comes with you and Mary.
Yeah.
Go to Europe, US, Europe, Ireland.
Sean was not there for the US, he did not go
No,
to the US.
not there for the US, but joins the trip later on.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big event. Yeah. And Mary goes, of course. You go. What's your recollections of that?
Sensational. Great fun.
How long were you in the US for?
About 20 days.
How did Mary feel about the whole trip?
Oh,
Did you have to warm her up to it, or
That
Just
one
over
she did,
two-
she was excited about
two
that
months.
one.
I've got 2 people talking? You said excited?
She was excited about the first trip, after that she wasn't excited.
Okay, excited about the first trip? What does that mean? USA or what?
No, USA and Europe,
Excited about the whole thing?
yeah.
Yeah. How was Mary about that, John? How did Mary feel about this first trip? Gonna go with
She enjoyed it. Other
Enjoyed
than got the shits when she was in Spain, that was all.
So why was that? Why did she get the shits in Spain?
Oh, well, we did take some scary roadside trips, yeah. Which we didn't know they were scary at the time, yeah. dear. Yeah.
So what happened there? You're going on a road trip or something. You hire a car or
Yeah, we hired a car in Rome and drove to Paris.
The back way. On a road they weren't supposed
Aye.
to travel. The back way, on a road you weren't supposed to travel on.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
what
closed.
caused all the problem. Yeah.
do you remember eating out a lot, or what was it like? Eating out at restaurants, or how did you survive each night? You know, food, eating.
Well, we've done all right. We got, well, firstly, I'll give you the full story. Everything was covered till we got to America, till after we left America, because Swan Insurance paid for it, which is sensational. And then we flew into Rome, and we stayed at the, well, they call it a convent, but it wasn't, but it was a hotel for priests. We stayed there because we had Sean with us, so thank you, so that wasn't bad. And
Dad,
we
do you want a coffee? Do you want a coffee?
Oh yeah, I'll be in that, thanks.
Two coffee and a piece of cake?
Thanks.
So we stayed in Rome for about 10 days. With Sean with us, we went to a few places that probably the normal tourists can't go. Went to the Vatican and all those sort of things. And then we done the hire company a favour. We wanted to go to Paris, so we decided to drive to Paris. So we went to a hire company and said, I want to hire a car. Yeah, this is that, back. Oh, I said, good stuff. Where you going? Paris. Ah, see that car out there? Yeah, well, it's the car for Paris. It's been hired. Now, if you drive it back for us, we'll charge you half. So we said, yeah, well, that seems like a reasonable deal to us. So it took us about 2 weeks to drive from Rome to around Spain and up to Paris. Can't remember what it was, of course, but here we go. Yeah, beautiful.
Now at that time, I mean, you've chuffed off. Peter's just 17 years of age, and Nigel's only 9. So what happened there, Janine? What happened?
I was married.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't married, sorry. I wasn't married. I was living in
Peter left school.
Colleen, Peter and Nigel were at home and they all lived together. Colleen was in college. Colleen was in college.
Yeah.
So she basically looked after them. I was in the flat. Peter left school when they were away.
Colleen was there. She was the one.
She was the one. She was a teacher's college.
Peter done his usual trick.
Huh?
I said Peter done his usual trick. I think
Which
you
was?
rang and said Peter's left school and we're over there. What are we going to do? He's going to go to work. Typical Peter.
Moving right along, it's 1975, John, and you're 39 years of age. We don't even know whether you've started Elmer yet, but do you have any recollections of a trip to the Birdsville track pig shooting with Wayne Osmond, Peter Gleeson and Damien Duggan? I don't know.
I didn't go. I did.
You didn't go.
You didn't go. Well, who took Peter?
Oh, wait, mate.
You did.
Oh.
Was the
That's not the Birdsville track. We went up to Yeah, I did go with him for that. I'm sick there. I went up to wasn't the Birdsville track? Anyway, Wilcannia. We went to Wilcannia. Yeah.
I've heard you talk about that before.
Yeah, Wilcannia.
Yep. Where's Wilcannia?
Well, it's what would you call it? It's just over the border of. Let me think now, because I went up there last time I was up there. Went through Wilcannia too. I suppose it's in New South Wales.
Got it. All right.
Dad, was it Elmore Finance Company or Elmore Finance Corporation?
What?
Elmore Finance Company or Elmore Finance Corporation?
We never a clue. I think it was company.
I'd say company.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're 39. It's 1975. North Melbourne's won the premiership, or going to win the premiership. And you go to Wilcannia, New South Wales. Wayne Osman, Peter Gleeson, Damien Duggan. Any recollections of that at all? I don't know.
No, other than that, we just went up there. We went
Pig
out.
shooting. I've got here pig shooting.
Oh, they went pig shooting. No, you're right. Yeah.
How long was that for?
Oh, it was only long weekend or something.
So we're just going to touch on, it's 2005, about 69 years of age, and it's like we'll call it an annual trip. Peter McCarty, funniest place, and I don't know if I'm going to say this right, the Hebel Hotel.
Yeah, Hebel, yeah. Funniest pub you've ever been in, yeah.
Now you've taken a few trips.
Oh, yeah, but
And
five or six.
I don't 5 or 6, and I don't know whether Father Sean was on this one or not, but that's just the annual trip. Peter
No,
McCarty.
we didn't go to Hebel with us. Where did
Right.
we go?
So where's Hebel? What state's that in?
I think it'd be New South Wales. Back end of New South Wales.
And so what would you do? You chuff off for 3 weeks, or how would it work?
Yeah, we just normally go for 3 weeks. You just drive,
Right.
Have a look at the country and stop at pubs.
Stop at pubs, yeah.
Stay at pubs.
Stay-
Don't book into motels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bit of drinking. A bit of drinking at night.
Oh, we drink a little bit, yes, but during the day we don't. We stop at a pub, we have 4 beers and off we go again, so we can stay out of trouble. I don't know. I'm hoping that I can do it one more time this year, but I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the Hebel Hotel, what's the significance of that?
Well, it's actually got no significance other than it was the weirdest place. It's really truthfully the weirdest pub we've ever been to. Come down this road to a T-section junction, and here's the Hebel Hotel in front of you. And the Hebel Hotel would fit into this place twice, I'd say.
Yeah.
There is a genuine old western hitch rack out the front when you find it's Dreamtime stuff.
Yeah.
And we've been there twice. Secondly, because we just had to go back, we couldn't believe it, So we get down there's 2 junctions, so no, we want to go round to the left. I don't know where we go from people, can't remember that. And anyhow, here's the hitch rack, no horses tied up to it. So anyhow, we said, it's a pub out here. We walk into the pub, believe it or not. I reckon it'll be about 11 or 12 in the morning, you know. Absolutely not one person there except the bloke behind the bar.
Yeah.
He was sitting there on a keg. Here's the keg behind him, sitting on the keg. I said, oh, you know, give us 2 beers, mate. Yeah, right. So this is a 2 beer. I can't remember what we paid. I said it was a bit odd. He said, yeah, the bloody system's broken down the way they come. And opposite, which we didn't notice till we come out, there's a sort of, well, you might call it a shop on the one I read the description, antique shop. We didn't go to the antique shop. Yeah. We just come down from a place called Walcott.
Yeah.
And well, that's out there, you've got to go out there to get your eyes open, you know. And anyhow, we get into Walcott, looking for a pub the night before, so stay in Walcott.
Yeah.
Killing ourselves. Anyhow, in Walcott there's probably a population of a couple of thousand.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyhow, so we get to we find the pub in the main drag, go there, can we have accommodation? Yeah, there's huts out the back, yeah, lovely. Yeah, where do you reckon we should eat and that? We got talking to the publican after a while. Oh, well, yeah, go down the RSL, that's the best caper. Yeah, right. And he said, come back by 10 o'clock. He said, like, this pub has got the whole square block in the middle of the Walcott. He said, come back before 10 o'clock, he said, because all the gates are locked. Yeah, he said, fucking black cunts. He said, I've done the right thing. He said, I've upset them terrifically. They don't come in here for a drink. He said, I'm wrapped. Yeah. So anyhow, yeah, that was it. So we went, so that was all right. And it was a good little pub, you know, everything was right. But he's got, he had cabins all around the outskirts of this huge block of land, you know.
Yeah.
And you can only get in and out through the one. He had a fence, I don't kid that, it was galvanised iron, the 8 feet high, right round the whole bloody block.
Wow.
So anyhow, we took notice of that. So we go down to the RSL, which was very, very nice.
Yeah.
Extremely nice. Meal was good. Guess what? We overstayed. We didn't get back by 10 o'clock, so then we tried to
Locked
get in.
out.
Yeah. And then we were trying to get in. Oh, how do we get in? You know, all the front shows up. This gate we had to come through, we can't move it. Anyhow, we kept whacking on the gate and the bloke finally comes out, you know. I said, mate, you know, I'm sorry. He said, well, you should have put your hands through the hole and moved the bloody thing. I said, no one's told us to do that.
That's all that was required.
But the other thing about the Walcott is also that because all around there's heaps of avos, and that In that area, there's more cops in that area than anywhere nearly in Australia.
God.
There's 1,400 cops.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
huge to cover this area, just to control that base. It's unbelievable.
No, it's unbelievable.
No? Oh, you don't hear about it? No,
Never hear of
you
that.
don't go up there, you'll never hear about it.
No.
Oh, no. If you bring it up, they'd say you're a racist. You know? Yeah. Yeah, I love going out there.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed days, dark sacred nights, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the skies, also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shake it and say, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed days, dark sacred nights. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the skies, also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, say, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed days, dark sacred nights. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the skies, also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, say, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed days, dark sacred nights, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the skies, also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, say, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed days, dark sacred nights, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the skies, also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, say, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you, and I think to myself, What a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed days, dark sacred nights, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the skies, also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed days, dark sacred nights, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the skies, also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed days, dark sacred nights, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. the colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, say, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed days, dark sacred nights. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, say, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed days, dark sacred nights. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, say, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying. I watch them grow. They're much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed days, dark sacred nights. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the skies, also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed days, dark sacred nights. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the skies, also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed days, dark sacred nights, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the skies, also on the faces of people going by. I see